The 72nd Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race will go down as one of the most formidable and fickle in the event's rich and varied history. For the lucky few, the elation of success and records broken. And for others, the heartbreak of coming so close. Proof once again that this Blue Water Classic is amongst the hardest ocean races in the world to win.
I've won Olympic gold medals, America's Cup, and in Australia the first thing they say is, have you won the Sydney Hobart Yacht Race?
It's one of the hardest things you can do in your life. It's a great adventure, it's a great human challenge, and I feel that anybody who makes it to the other end is a winner.
It's hard. It's not an easy thing to win at all. We've won races we shouldn't have probably won, and we've lost races we probably shouldn't have lost. You know, it's just the way it is.
It is extremely difficult to win. And we're going to be doing 26 knots of boat speed in the middle of the night, in big seas, in probably the toughest piece of ocean on the planet.
As is so often the case, much of the talk in the days leading up to the start is of the super maxis in the fleet, the impressive 100-foot yachts aiming for line honours victory. Returning as race favourites are the 8-time champions Wild Oats 11, skippered as always by Mark Richards. But this year, the team are without their owner and talisman, Bob Oatley, who passed away early in 2016 at the age of 87. While the Wild Oats crew would take the spoils time and time again in Hobart, no one was ever in doubt who made it all possible.
Bob Oatley, he's an absolute legend, mate. He's a fantastic contributor to our sport, and he's just been so wonderful for our team, and as I said, we wouldn't be here today without him. Bob was never my boss, we were just mates. You know, I sailed for Bob purely on an amateur basis from day one, and purely because we're just good mates, had the same passions, and we had a fantastic relationship. So, you know, Bob's been sorely missed, but he's with us. I can feel him with us today. He's here in spirit, I can tell you for sure, and the whole team are doing this year's race for Bob.
The loss of Bob Oatley, coupled with the disappointment of last year's race retirement, has given the team a renewed sense of determination to reclaim the line honours title they have almost made their own.
We're really keen to redeem ourselves on last year's performance. So it's been a long year, you know, retiring from the Sydney Hobart. I mean, you know, not winning a race, that's one thing. Coming second, third, fourth or fifth, you know, you get to accept it and deal with it on the day. But when you withdraw from a race like that, you know, especially as softly as we had to in the end, yeah, it's pretty disappointing. So the whole team, it's been a really good year of preparation. Everyone's been totally focused and just can't wait to actually get back out there on Boxing Day and have another crack.
Also preparing for the Boxing Day start, another Super Maxi puts in one final training run before the off. CQS, formerly Nicorette, has returned to the Sydney Hobart stage after a 6-year absence, with a radical facelift that's got everyone talking.
Yeah, she flows.
Equipped with reverse bow, dynamic stabilising foils and outrigger wings, she's at the very cutting edge of race evolution. Lure Ingval, who skippered the original yacht to line honours victory in 2004, is back at the helm, and despite talk of the boat's unproven capabilities, is a firm believer in her innovative design.
The CQS yacht is a marvel of technology. It's a big gamble to make these changes, but at the same time, if you want to go up against Wild Oats, you just can't imitate them. You've got to do something different, and we want innovation. We're prepared to take some risk. But this is not risk as being dangerous. This is taking a bit of risk on new technologies and then learning how to use them. So the way I see the boat today is it's the boat with most toys in its toy box. And next we just got to learn how to play with them.
The eagerly anticipated 72nd edition of the race will take the fleet out of Sydney Harbour, down the New South Wales coast, and then across the infamous Bass Strait, before the approach to eastern Tasmania's Storm Bay and the Hobart finish line up the Derwent River. But first, there's the small matter of the start.
There they go, they're away in the 2016 Sydney Hobart, 88 yachts, 1,100 sailors, all racing to Hobart in this iconic test of skill, endurance and courage.
Let's go, let's go, let's go! Trim on, trim on, trim on!
As the Maxis get off the line, Wild Oats 11 is off to an uncharacteristically poor start. And worrying moments too for CQS.
She's almost capsizing. I mean, this is this radical boat. She's got a bit on. Perpetual Loyal is in front, who'll win the bragging rights for first out the heads.
And it is indeed Anthony Bell's Super Maxi who leads the bid for line honours as they leave the spectacular backdrop of Sydney Harbour behind them. In the chasing pack, the favourites for the overall race title. Last year's winner TP52 Balance and 2015 runner-up Ragamuffin, as well as perennial contenders Maluka of Kermondie, the oldest and smallest yacht in this varied and colourful 88-strong fleet. The race is on, but can Wild Oats 11 claw their way back into contention? Since 2015, Wild Oats has undergone some major modifications that have included a new bow fitting in an effort to keep her on top of her game. One of the men behind these changes is John O'Morris, pitman on Wild Oats and joint managing director of McConaughey Boats, one of the world's leading yacht construction companies. In 2005, Morris helped build Wild Oats for the late Bob Oatley. 8 Sydney Hobart Line Honours titles later, John O'Morris and his team are still perfecting the race-winning design.
The significant changes that were made last year, we've been able to sort of refine different aspects of it. So it's really changed the dynamics of the boat and the sail wardrobe and the setup of all the sails. So one of the things that we learnt this year, I guess, was the new bow section, the new design that we've got. The boat handles really well downwind. So there's been a big gain there. So there's been lots of refinements, I guess. You know, basically the original change was such a massive one. There was so much to get your head around in terms of the impact on the different configurations, and now that's all kind of been refined to a point where it's all going to work.
Out on the racetrack, the design modifications to Wild Oats 11 appear to be paying off. As the lead boats make their way down the New South Wales coast, the 100-foot Maxi has slowly been reining in Perpetual Loyal. With Anthony Bell's yacht, for the moment at least, with the upper hand.
The boat, I mean, is definitely a machine. It's an absolute weapon. We're looking for a race that didn't go, traditional Hobart, where there was a bit of everything.
We got off to a great start out of Sydney Heads, started heading down the coast. It's breeze built, 25, 30 knots downwind.
The unusually favourable following wind is propelling both Super Maxis at speeds of over 30 knots towards Hobart. Conditions perfect to threaten Wild Oats' 2012 race record.
The focus was never on the race record, but yeah, you'd be remiss of you not to actually say, wow, we're really doing good, we're honking here and we're going really well.
But the downwind conditions favour Wild Oats, and her superior velocity made good, or VMG, performance allows her to sail past Loyal and snatch the lead.
Typically, VMG running is not our strong point. Into the first night, I think they had 3 or 4 miles. Wild Oats is very quick VMG running, and we were just basically thinking going into the first night, let's minimise how much of a lead they get on us.
And now, Wild Oats is in the driving seat in the race to be first to the line. But the Sydney to Hobart is not just about line honours. It's also a race to crown an overall winner on handicap. Big, small, old or new, every yacht taking part is rated according to its speed. The faster the boat, the bigger the handicap. The rating system means that every yacht in the fleet has a chance of claiming the coveted Tattersalls Cup. And this year, it promises to be a closely contested affair. Much of the spotlight is on last year's overall winner, TP52 Balance, and its owner and skipper, Paul Clitheroe.
You've got 80 or 90 of the best boats in the world, from all over the world, looking to win that trophy on a very, very fair handicapping system, which gives everyone a chance. It is extremely difficult to win.
It was a lifetime ambition that Paul Clitheroe achieved in 2015, winning the race for the first time, and now contemplating the even harder prospect of winning it for a second.
This year, completely reversed psychology, because this year clearly we're going to have a lot of wind behind us. And I'm finding this quite funny actually, what people saying to me, oh, you've got the wind behind you, it's going to be easy. It's actually going to be worse. Pounding into a storm, your boat speed is relatively low. Yes, you've got big waves breaking over the boat. It's like being in a washing machine and roll down a set of steps. Going downwind in a boat like mine, we're going to be doing 25, 26 knots of boat speed. The seas in Bass Strait are going to be enormous, so we are going to be like a Formula One Grand Prix car, except we're racing in the middle of the night under wind power in whopping great big seas, which you can't see.
With the prospect of a turbulent night ahead, the fleet sails on into the evening, enjoying the champagne sailing conditions while they can. Sunrise on day 2, and Wild Oats 11 have built a 10-mile lead over rivals Perpetual Loyal and are looking comfortable as they cross the notorious Bass Strait, on course to break their own 2012 race record. But then, just 3 hours later, they suffer the cruelest of blows. A problem with the keel brings their campaign to a premature end, and for the second year in succession, Wild Oats 11 is out of the race.
I was steering at the time, I saw them underneath us and I saw them quickly round up head to wind. After a minute or two I saw them turn around and start heading back, and immediately we knew that there was a pretty big issue. They came over the radio and said, we've had a structural fail, we're all okay, there is no need for us, they're heading in.
As they make landfall in Eden on the New South Wales coast, the heartbreak is evident.
Just really disappointed. It was going to be a fun race. It was shaping up to be a great race. We were sailing into reaching conditions which was really suiting Loyal, and we were pushing the living hell out of the boat to just try and minimise that loss to Loyal over the next sort of 10 hours. And it was going well for us, and everyone was on really high spirits. And as I said, it just done a fantastic job to that point, and then bang, it's gone. Look, our whole goal was to get to the dock first, just not this one.
With Wild Oats now out of the running, the lead is gifted back to Loyal. Having failed to complete the last 2 races, it seems this time they have fortune on their side as they continue the record-breaking run down the Tasman coast unchallenged. In pursuit, and ready for any slip-up, is the New Zealand Volvo 70 Giacomo. Sailing a fantastic race, they're in second place on the track and first place overall. And behind them, the speed machine Maserati. But the earlier tipped overall favourites from the medium-sized fleet are still in the running. Matt Allen's Itchy Barn. And last year's champions Balance, skippered by Paul Clitheroe. But conspicuously absent from the ranks is the 2014 winning skipper Roger Hickman. One of the event's true legends died last year after competing in his 39th Sydney Hobart race.
So Roger was one of sailing's gentlemen. You know the bloke who's intensely competitive, but if you're on a bit of strife, he's going to cut you a bit of slack. He's going to give you a bit of room. If you're in trouble, he's going to come to you. I'll never forget that memory of Roger hugging me after we knew we won Hobart. Is a great way for me to remember Roger.
He was always great to the young people of the sport, always had some good words of advice. A lot of people are really going to miss him, myself included, and it's a sad thing that he's not with us.
Part of Roger Hickman's legacy has been the fight for equality between men and women in the sport, insisting on a 50-50 split between male and female crew on his yacht Wild Rose. This year, one woman who has sailed with Roger will join him on the honours board at the CYCA and become the first female to compete in 25 Sydney Hobart races. Adrienne Cahalan is arguably Australia's greatest ever yachtswoman. She first sailed in the race in 1984 and as navigator has gone on to win 4 line honours titles.
I was on board with Roger in one of the first ocean races I ever sailed. There's no doubt in this race you miss his smiling face down there on that dock, and also because of the wonderful encouragement he gave and brought so many female crews through his boat. It's a very special race for me to be competing in my 25th Hobart. There's so many experiences, memories, and I think it's something special for women too, to show that we are as much a part now of ocean racing as the men, which makes it incredibly diverse, and that's one of the great things about sailing.
Adrienne is proving a great role model for the next generation of Australian female sailors, like 20-year-old Emma May. Part of the Youth Sailing Academy, she's already competing in her third Sydney Hobart, and this year, arguably in the toughest role on board. Running the bow has traditionally been the preserve of the biggest and bravest of the male crews, but not anymore.
There's some pretty hairy moments that happen up there, and you get people at the back of the boat screaming at you. They've been hammered by the waves and washed under the lifeline. You just need to be able to think processes through before you go up there, be rational.
So what do her friends think? Well, it's not every 20-year-old's idea of having a good time.
A lot of them are going to music festivals, and I say, yeah, I'm going on a boat to get hammered by waves, cold, really just miserable and not showering for 4 days, but I find it fun.
Emma is competing this year on the mixed crude St Jude, and she's ready for whatever the weather throws at her.
Just got to deal with it as it comes, and I'm hoping that we get a little bit of rough weather. It wouldn't be a Hobart without it.
Back with the leaders, and Perpetual Loyal make their final charge for the finish. As they navigate their way around Tasman Island and into Storm Bay, they keep the breeze with them. Even the fickle Derwent River is unusually accommodating, carrying Loyal to the finish line in 15 knots of wind. Smashing Wild Oats' previous race record by almost 5 hours as they post a remarkable time of 1 day, 13 hours, 31 minutes and 20 seconds, earning them their second line honours victory in 5 years.
Both unlikely to win, but I think we're much more unlikely to win this time, and certainly totally unlikely to break the race record by such a large margin. So they weren't completely the best conditions for this boat, but we just managed to get the best out of it for the things that we were good at, which is the power reaching. It's a Rolex in the Hobart, and we're proud to be in Hobart.
The next morning outside Hobart, and what a difference a night makes. Just a few hours earlier it was blowing 15 knots, and now nothing. The big boats that didn't make it across the line in the night now find themselves cruelly becalmed, almost within touching distance of the finish. But in these conditions, when you're fighting for inches, even a few extra pounds on board can make all the difference.
Whatever we can fit in our gear bag is whatever our owner will let us take on board.
Anything you can stuff into a little area about that big you can take, and if it's any bigger than that, we chuck it off before we start.
We got our sunnies for during the day.
Your wet weather gear, thermals, and enough gear to stay warm.
Headphones.
You can take anything you want and I'll never find out.
Waterproof socks.
Toothbrush, toothpaste.
This time I've allowed everyone to bring their own toothbrush, but cut in half.
I've never cut my toothbrush off.
Well, we actually don't take a toothbrush, they're heavy.
Light is fast.
Yeah, we have no mattresses on the boat now.
We've got no toilet, no kitchen, no running water. We've got a carbon shell with a mask stuck on it.
The main one, our beanies.
Swimming goggles.
A photo of your kids.
Swimming cap.
Your dog's toy and a Christmas present.
Someone brings boots and shoes. There's raised eyebrows.
Torches.
Contraband.
I snuck a phone charger on, actually.
I'll take Bob's walking stick, the voodoo stick, that's it.
I don't know why, but I always crave ice cream.
The only we won't have on the boat is bananas. Superstition. Isn't it weird?
That's it. That's our gear bag.
With the big boats parked up in the river, the advantage in the race for the overall winner's title now swings in favour of the medium-sized boats. Buoyed by the still favourable conditions out at sea, they're pulling out all the stops in a bid to get to the finish as quickly as possible and stake their claim for the Tattersalls Cup. Now in second place overall, the 2015 winners Balance. Having made exceptionally good time, they turn into Storm Bay with expectations high, dueling with fellow TP52 Itchy Barn. But then their hopes are dashed as they too become becalmed and are forced to park up in the Derwent and watch the race slip through their fingers. And so, already safely on the dock, the New Zealand Volvo 70 Giacomo, which finished second over the line in the night, is announced the overall winner of the 2016 Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. The first non-Australian to lift the Tattersalls Cup since 2007.
It's the stuff that dreams are made of, and in many ways it's a reward for a long learning experience. It's a Volvo Open 70 and it's a brutal boat. And when I started to pay close attention to the weather patterns that were emerging 2 days before the race, I thought that this was the weather pattern that would suit our boat the best. And of course the crew are made up of family. I have my 20-year-old son Nicholas, I have my 18-year-old son James, and it's an all New Zealand boat. So we're very proud of that.
With the winners already decided, the remainder of the fleet find themselves racing not for silverware, but simply for the immense sense of pride and achievement in finishing this titanic race. For Emma May on board St Jude, a third Sydney Hobart notched up at the age of 20, and the prospect of a warm welcome on Constitution Dock. And for the Corinthian crews, the unrivaled sense of elation of arriving into Hobart, having shared the adventure of a lifetime.
The reason why people come back to this yacht race year after year is because of what happens in here. There's something about it. It creates a bond with the people that you do it with that you never ever lose. For most of us, it's about getting here. You know, it's about that journey. It's always been special. And I think the most important thing is to realise that anyone that finishes is a winner. Less glamour, maybe, but more the spirit of yachting.
The overall winner for the 72nd instalment of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race is Giacomo.
And so a fitting end to what has been another memorable Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. Brimming with spectacle, record-breaking performances, and dreams brought to life. But just as importantly, this edition has reaffirmed the true Corinthian spirit of this unique race and the sense of camaraderie that sets it apart. Next time on The Spirit of Yachting, we're in the Mediterranean for another offshore classic, the Euralia Rolex Cup.